I don't like partnerships. Businesses do partnerships all the time. In my view, they make no sense. Mergers and acquisitions barely make any sense, but at least ownership is the right way to go forward in a business combination. Partnerships are false narratives and typically just posturing and some sort of ego boosting exercise. This is the Not Even Wrong podcast. It's September 9th, 2020. This is Krim Delco. For the day, the fund is up 25.5%. The market's up 2%. For the year, we're up 165%. The market is up 5%. We're outperforming by 160%. I want to jump right into it. The partnership concept in business it's one of those things in business that you hear all the time. People talk about it. They come up with the same kind of justifications all the time, things like synergies, innovation, cross-selling, I don't know, all these buzzwords, business school stuff really makes no sense. Yesterday, we had an example of a false narrative, in my view, a complete misleading of the market, almost to the point where I would expect the SEC to go after it. So there's this company, NIkola Motors, which is a very highly questionable company in terms of what they represent and what they're trying to achieve. And they struck a deal with GM. And the deal is something like GM is going to sell NIkola Motors electric vehicle technology, and they're going to build a car, a pickup truck, which is branded as Badger, which supposedly is something that Nikola has in the workings. And they're going to be using GM engineering and technology and then brand it as Nikola and sell it. This is, first of all, the financials are highly questionable because GM is putting an in-kind in investment, so they're giving products and technology and the right to sell to Nikola, and Nikola is giving stock to GM. Nikola was up 40% on the day, and GM was up 10%. Together, the market cap gains were about $10 billion. So $10 billion in market cap gains for a press release, for a highly questionable cooperation. In fact, it's not even clear that there is a product like Badger. It's absolutely not clear what kind of technology, supposedly innovative technology, GM is going to develop and sell. Nobody has an idea of what kind of volumes they can do, what kind of market shares they can get. Of course, there are two highly anticipated competitors. One is this Tesla Cybertruck, and the other is the Rivian truck. So it's just, $10 billion still in this day and age with all the money printing of the Fed. It is still money, and it's just being created as, I just can't use any better word than vaporware here. There is nothing behind it. I think particularly the behavior of the Nikola management is highly questionable. I'm also highly questioning, actually, the GM management. There is a lot of talk, there is a lot of posturing, a lot of ego, a lot of false narratives, misleading investors. The market is correct. 45 billion market cap for GM, given the disastrous financial situation GM is in, with a massive amount of debt outstanding, with a highly questionable residual value on the cars which are backing all that debt that is outstanding on GM, with a barely profitable business model already. The only way they make money is with SUVs and pickup trucks, and Tesla alone is going to disrupt that market like they've disrupted any other market. Plus, we have Rivian and potentially even other competitors. So having said all of that, I just want to use this as an example of a really bad situation in terms of partnership. If you want to bet on partnership, stay away from this one. This is not a good situation. In my belief, GM doesn't have a viable roadmap to compete with Tesla. GM is doomed to fail. There is nothing showing even the slightest sign that this could get better for GM. And this deal just shows how desperate they are. There's no other way to look at this. Now, this episode is not necessarily meant to be about this particular deal. I just wanted to use this example to show how difficult partnerships are. If you go back in the history of business, I can't think of a partnership which was a good one. I just can't think. If anybody has an idea, please put it in the comments. I'm happy to learn, but I just don't see it. Let's take some of the best companies in the world. Apple. Name me one partnership Apple has done. Amazon. Amazon has had certain acquisitions, Zappos, for example, where they bought the company. And I'm going to talk about this a little bit later. I think in mergers and acquisitions or business combinations, there is some business sense. You can actually profitably combine businesses, but you have to have ownership and control. So partnerships, the problem with partnerships is that you don't have ownership and control, that you're partnering with somebody. And quite frankly, forget business. Let's talk about life. Let's talk about something like, for example, two people sharing a life together and not having a fully combined, let's say, marriage or something along those lines. So they kind of treat each other as partners, but they're not in it together. These things usually don't work out very well, particularly when there's kids involved. It might. There are some people that are just such good communicators, such good empathetic people that they can really, feel themselves into the other person and do the right thing for both of them and get going. But overall, if you don't have skin in the game, if you don't have a partnership along the lines of a marriage or something where both have the skin in the game, usually things don't work out. And the same applies to business. I think Tesla should absolutely not partner with anybody. I hope they don't. Tesla has been unbelievably smart about this. The acquisition of Solar City was take ownership. They wanted to be the first company in China to own and produce cars. They are. They don't want to partner with anybody because it's a misleading proposition. There's been news over the weekend that Elon Musk met with Herbert Diess, the CEO of Volkswagen, and there was some discussion about the deal. Actually, Volkswagen shares were up 5% on Monday during Labor Day in the US, so there was very little volume in Europe, but still the shares were up. Diess came out, said there is no deal in the workings. I think this whole theater that Volkswagen instigated, and I don't know why Musk was playing along, but this idea that Tesla will actually strike a deal with Volkswagen to do something is absurd, because what can Tesla possibly do to help Volkswagen? And Volkswagen doesn't even have a right platform where Tesla could potentially help them. So it's just narratives, posturing, egos. Let's think about a case study. Let's put everything aside, all the things I just said, narratives, egos, marketing. Let's just be analytical and as cool as possible about this. Let's think about it. What can Tesla possibly do to help Volkswagen? And then let's think about what can maybe also Volkswagen do to help Tesla. So let's assume Volkswagen agrees to let Tesla implement battery technology and powertrain technology according to the Tesla architecture, which is very important. Because Musk has said that on several earnings calls that he is willing to cooperate with other companies, but only on the premise that they use Tesla architecture, because Tesla is not in the business of customizing architecture to every car manufacturer. So let's assume Volkswagen does that. So then the question comes, well, why isn't Tesla just producing their own cars? What can they actually do with Volkswagen? You could argue, well, they could outsource capital investment. So Volkswagen could build factories, use the Tesla technology and architecture, and build cars. And then, of course, they could brand the cars with their own brands and then sell them through their own distribution network. So Tesla could basically be a seller of technology, a little bit like a chip manufacturer, like an NVIDIA in the computer space, where they sell core technologies to OEMs and then they do their own thing with it. So Tesla could do that. It could be a decent margin business, but a very high return on capital business, because you don't have to invest a lot of capital. You already have the intellectual property, and you don't have to invest in gigafactories, etc., etc. Let's look at the Tesla mission. The mission is to accelerate the advent of sustainable transportation and energy, and also autonomy. I think it would fit into that mission, because you would have more electric cars, high-end, good quality electric cars with Tesla kind of efficiency on the road. Maybe they could also have access to the supercharging network. So there is something to be said. In my view, however, the only thing that Volkswagen really needs from Tesla would be the software integration. The fact that the software works pretty well. Even the Tesla software is not perfect. We have certain problems here and there, and it's not perfect, but it's compared to other OEMs, compared to, let's say, BMW, what the thing we drove before the Tesla, it's just another, it's like another dimension.